Hey there Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another episode of Cheap Shots. In this video we're going to show you guys how to use your Warhammer 40,000 kill team miniatures and bring them to the brutal world of Necromunda. We'll explore how you can repurpose your kill team miniatures for the Underhive from gang selection, starting rosters, as well as narrative play. And whether you're a veteran Necromunda player or new to the Underhive, this guide will help you get the most out of your kill team miniatures. Let us know in the comments how you use kill team miniatures in your Necromunda games. And on today's video, we're actually making a very special series of rosters for the brand new Adeptus Mechanicus Servitor kill teams that were introduced in the Adepticon 2025 preview. We have these really cool looking grimdark servitors as well as Adeptus Mechanicus disciples who are leading them on missions against Tyranids, and because these miniatures are so amazing looking, they would just fit perfectly within the Warhammer 40,000 setting of Necromunda, and that way you can use them in your campaigns in Necromunda as well. So that way you can get multiple uses at the same group of miniatures and use them for multiple games. Now in this video what we'll do is we'll give you the background narrative of how you can use this Adeptus Mechanicus kill team in your campaigns in Necromunda. I've actually created two rosters, one at 1,000 credits and one at 2,000 credits that you could use to actually play in your campaigns, and we'll talk about exactly how those gangs operate and the playstyle that you'll use. And at the same time, because this video is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So that being said, let's talk about playing your Adeptus Mechanicus Servitor kill teams and campaigns of Necromunda. So first of all, let's talk about the background narrative of your kill team and how it will fit within the overall setting of Necromunda. You are leading a gang called the Mecha Profane. They are an outcast Vansar gang led by a heretic who's actually building his own little creations of servitors and bring them to the depths of Necromunda in order to actually propagate his own agendas and how technology should operate, and try to achieve his own agendas and how to make things change within the bowels of Necromunda. The idea is that we're using mutation rules from the Devils of Gunk Deep Necromunda Apocrypha supplement and using that to kind of mimic the mecha upgrades that you would receive on your servitors in your gang, and we're going to be pushing the limits of technology in your overall narrative and how you could use them in your campaigns. Now, like I said before, I do have two rosters that I've completed for you guys. I have a 1,000 credit starting roster that you can use in any campaign that requires that, or a 2,000 credit roster in case you want to play in the Ranthine Succession. Now, the thing to remember about these gang lists, I just went with the assumption that you're using this one set of miniatures and that is the only thing you could use to play both kill team as well as Necromunda. So I don't have any rules on vehicles or anything additional beyond what's currently available in the box set, because the idea of this video is that you're just using that single box set in order to play these games. Now with this said, this is going to be a very hard-hitting gang, and the playstyle is going to be extremely aggressive playstyles. So if you really like being within close combat or doing a lot of heavy shooting, this gang will be the one for you as well. And speaking of shooting, this gang actually performs quite well between short, medium, as well as long-range shooting. You have some pretty powerful heavy weapons that kind of help you hit targets at longer distances. You also have plenty of firepower to deal with medium as well as short range, and also really good close combat weapons that's going to make you extremely lethal in close combat as well. And to top it all off, this gang is also very survivable. We're using a lot of different mutations from the Devils of Gunk Deep supplement in order to make these fighters even more resilient, and that'll actually help your gang to last longer on the tabletop as well. And so now that we're done talking about our playstyle, let's go ahead and talk about our starting rosters. So this starting roster is the Mecha Profane. It is a House Vansar Outcast gang that is rated at 1,000 credits. So for those of you guys who want to play in the Underhells or in the Underhives campaign at 1,000 credits, this will be able to help you out as well. And of course, if you want to play in the Ash Waste campaign setting, you can actually use the Waster Dirt Bike rule and just pretend that these mecha actually run faster than ordinary human beings because they got upgrades. So that way you can participate in the Ash Waste campaigns if you want. So up first, let's talk about the two miniatures that are going to be inside this gang. First of all, we're going to be using your Techno Archaeologist that is available in your starting box set for your Adeptus Mechanicus Servitor kill team, as well as the Servitor Underseer. We're going to actually be using them very specifically and how you can use them in your gang, and we're going to talk about exactly how they're going to be equipped and how you're going to be able to dominate on the tabletop with them. So up first, let's talk about the leader of your gang. You're going to use the Techno Archaeologist miniature to play a character named Zarak the Unbound, which is going to be your outcast gang leader, and we're actually using the Heretic, which is a hanger-on that is traditionally available in the Book of Ruin. Now this character costs 40 credits, and let's go ahead and talk about their characteristics real quick. They have a 5-inch wound allowance, as well as 5+ weapon skill and 4+ ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 9 leadership, 7 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 5 intelligence. Now to help this guy be a little bit more survivable with that 1 wound characteristics, we're going to give this this character the mutant archetype, because whenever you pick out a outcast gang leader, you have to choose an archetype, and this mutant archetype was released in the Necromunda Apocrypha supplement Devils of Gun Deep. Now when you take this archetype, what you do is you automatically get a mutation that will be able to help you out as well, and since we're elevating this character to a leader as well, they also get access to one of their primary skills. Now for the mutant archetype, your primary skills are brawn as well as leadership or mutations. We're going to actually take a leadership skill for your primary when you actually elevate this fighter to a leader. Now this character automatically comes with mesh armor, giving them a 5-up armor save, and they also manage to either choose a grav gun or a plasma gun. In this situation, I'd recommend the plasma gun because the plasma gun is actually much more versatile in the things that you can do. It can also do a lot of really powerful shooting as well. And the reason why that's the case is because the characteristics that these plasma guns actually have that makes them so deadly when shooting. You have actually two different modes that you can use for your plasma gun. You have the low setting as well as the maximal setting. Now you'll have a 12 to 24 inch range on these weapons, getting +2 to hit at the short range for your low power charge and a +1 hit at the short range for your maximal charge. The strength at low charge will be strength 5 with 1 and -1 AP causing 2 damage with rapid fire 1, and the maximal charge will be striking at strength 7 with -2 AP causing 3 damage with the ammo roll 5 up as well. Now the ammo roll is quite high, and it does have the scarce ammo roll, which means that you run out of ammo if you use your low charge setting on your plasma gun, or the unstable trait, which could take your leader out of action if you're not careful enough. But to kind of help with that, because that 5+ ammo save, you do have the munition in your skill automatically, which means you can reroll filled armor ammo saves if you need to. But the main thing about this character we're going to use this guy for is not so much for his combat ability, but for the overseer skill that we're going to give this character, so that way you can do a double set of activations so long as you pass a leadership test. Now it's going to be a little bit harder to do for you because you have a leadership of a 9+, so my recommendation is as you upgrade this character over the course of your campaign, lower that leadership skill so that we can get that overseer skill off, so that way you can do double activations for your fighter. We're also giving this fighter the vast bulk mutation because as a mutant archetype, he automatically comes with one. And what that's going to do is going to add +1 to his wound characteristic. Now the heretic at base only has 1 wound. This is going to bump him up to 2 wounds to make it a little bit more survivable like a normal leader. He also has the heretic special rule attached to him as well, which means that he can actually enhance one of the gang's weapons before a game. And basically what you do is you actually decide whether you want to put blaze, concussion, power, radphage, or the shock trait on any weapon. Now when you decide to do that, if it's a ranged weapon, automatically gains the unstable trait, or the reckless trait if it's a melee weapon. So make sure that you choose accordingly what kind of additional weapons trait you want, and use your own judgment to figure out how you would use that for your gang. And because this guy is an outlaw hanger on, that automatically makes your gang an outlaw gang as well. But since you're mutants anyways, you're going to have that status no matter what. Now, we're going to use your Servitor Underseer to play a character called the Voidborn Cogspawn. And what that's going to be, it's actually going to be an Arachnorig, which is actually a brute that you can use for your Gangstar gangs as well. And this guy is going to be extremely powerful and bring a lot of heavy firepower that you're going to need in order to be successful on the tabletop as well. So let's talk about the Arachnorig real quick. So he's going to cost you 360 credits. He's got light carapace armor, giving him a 4-up armor save. And when it comes to his characteristics, he's got a 5-inch wound allowance, 4+ weapon skill and ballista skill, 5 strength, this is going to be a brute in close combat, 4 toughness, making him extremely survivable, as well as 3 wounds, 4+ initiative, 4 attacks base, as well as 5 leadership, 5 cool, 8 willpower, as well as 6 intelligence. Now your attack characteristics are actually going to drop down to 2 attacks characteristics because you only get 4 attacks characteristics if you use the Arachnorig as base, which means it has 4 servo arms, but we're going to replace 2 of those servo arms with guns, so that way you can use them to shoot better and cause much more damage in your games of Necromunda. Now he automatically comes with heavy last carbine, which is also twin linked as well, and that makes it actually a very powerful shooting attack when you actually use it. This is actually probably the most common weapon you're probably going to use in most cases, and the reason why that's the case is because of the amount of firepower that you can actually put out with these weapons as well. The twin-linked heavy last carbine actually has a range between a 15-inch short range to a 30-inch long range. You get +1 to shoot, dropping your ballista skill to a 3+ if you shoot at the short range. It's also striking at strength 4 with 1 damage with an ammo roll 4+. But that's not going to be too much of a problem though, because this weapon does come with a plentiful trait, which means you automatically reload in case you run into an ammo roll situation, which would be quite helpful for you because these weapons are rapid fire 3, so you have the potential of actually firing 9 shots with these weapons if you actually get this part. And because they also have the twin link trait attached to them, you can also reroll any number of the ammo roll dice if you want to in order to actually make sure you have the best result possible. Now, like I mentioned before, we're going to actually replace 2 of the 4 servo arms that you get in the Arachnid Rig with shooting attacks. The first one's going to be a rad gun. Now, the rad gun basically acts as a template attack, kind of like a flamer. It strikes at strength 2, which is not that great, but it has -2 AP, which is going to really drop down your enemy's armor save. It also causes 1 damage and has a 4-up armor save as well. But it also causes ravage, which means you also manage to put flesh wounds on your targets as well, which makes them weaker, and drops their toughness, which makes them easier to wound. So this weapon's going to be really good to handicapping your opponents and making them much easier to wound later on. And of course, we're also going to give this thing a plasma gun as well, which we talked about with your heretic as well. It's going to do exactly the same characteristics, a really good high strength rapid fire weapon that's going to cause all kinds of problems for your enemy. Now, at the same time, you also have equipment with 2 servo arms as well that you could use for close combat. Now, you only have 2 close combat attacks with the Arachnid Rig suit because you only have these 2 servo arms, but the nice thing about them, though, is that they are versatile weapons with a 3-inch range, which means you can strike anybody within 3 inches. You don't necessarily need to be in close combat, base-to-base contact with them. Plus, you get +1 to strike when you're using the versatile range as well, meaning you're striking at weapon skill 3, which is going to be really good for you. Not to mention, you're also using the strength of 5 up that comes with the Arachnid Rig suit, which also causes 1 damage as well. So either you're shooting or doing close combat, you could cause all kinds of problems for your enemy as well. At the same time, you do have the Vansar Protective Gear special rule attached to your Brute, which means it also makes you immune to Radphage. So if your enemy just tries to use any Radphage attacks against you, you have complete immunity to that. And at the same time, he also has superior weapons in range, which means that your single shoot basic action actually becomes 2 shoot simple actions instead. So a good rule of thumb is to actually open fire with your plasma gun for longer range targets and your Radphage gun or your twin-linked last carbine for targets that happen to be closer. Once again, your Voidborn Cogspawn looks like this thing. It's got multiple arms and like mechanical tentacles coming out of its back, so it's very easy for you to believe that this thing could actually be a Arachnid Rig. Now after that, we're going to use 1 of your 2 gun servitors in your starting box set. Unfortunately, with the 1,000 credits that we have to use to create your gang, we're not going to be able to get both of these gun servitors in the list, so we do have to keep that in mind. And the reason why is because, like I said before, your servitor understeer is going to act as an Arachnid Rig servo suit, which is going to be bringing plenty of firepower for your gang anyways. All we're really going to do is take one of these gun servitors and make them just a little bit even more deadly on the tabletop so that we have some more powerful shooting options for your gang. Alright, so let's go and talk about one of your champions. This character is going to be called Scalatrix 9. You're going to use one of your gun servitors to be an outcast champion. Now, this character's got a 5-inch wound allowance, a 3+ weapon skill, 4+ ballista skill, 3 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 1 attack. He's also got 6+ leadership, 7+ cool, 8+ willpower, as well as 8+ intelligence. Now, this character is going to cost 195 credits, and the reason why is because we're going to upgrade this character and make him a little bit more deadlier when it comes to some of the weapons and equipment choices that we have planned out for him. So first of all, we're going to kick this guy into a mutant archetype. So once again, we're continuing on that mutation to bring up those upgrades that you'll need to use for your characters. Now, when it comes to your mutant outcast champion using a mutant archetype, you actually get Brawn as your primary skill, as well as you can get your mutations as a primary skill as well. Now, technically speaking, based on the rules as written within the Apocrypha Necromunda supplement, leadership could also count as a primary skill for this character because they don't make a distinction between leaders or champions. They just say a mutant has these as their primary skills. I think it is an oversight by the Games Workshop guys because their quality assurance hasn't been very good as of late when it comes to Necromunda rules. So you could argue that, you know, you can take leadership as a primary if you want to. I would talk to your arbitrator to see if they would even allow it in the first place. Now, because I'm a cool arbitrator and I think rules written is perfectly fine, I would say yeah, you could totally do that. But if your other arbitrator doesn't want you to do that, it's perfectly within their purview if they want to make that happen. Now what you're going to do is you're going to give this guy a plasma cannon. Now a plasma cannon is a heavy weapons version of a plasma gun. It's actually much more powerful. It's got an 18-inch short range and a 38-inch long range on the low setting for this weapon that gives you +1 to hit at short range, which means you're going to be shooting at ballista skill 3 when you're firing at the short range, which is quite nice. It also hits at strength 6, has -1 AP, it also causes 2 damage as a 5 on the ammo roll. It's also got rapid fire, which is quite nice as well. You do have to worry about the scarce trait, which is kind of rough, as well as the unwieldy trait. Now, when you talk about weapons with the unwieldy trait, traditionally speaking, if it's a shooting attack, it takes a double action to fire this. But we're going to actually get rid of that problem by picking a very specific skill that's going to make you more successful with it. Now, at the same time, you do have to worry about the scarce special rule attached to the weapon, because in case you fail that ammo roll, my suggestion to you is to keep this fighter next to your heretic leader, so that way they can help you out with that munition skill to make sure this guy can also keep shooting. We're also giving this character the maximal charge on this weapon, same exact characteristics before, with an 18-inch short range and a 38-inch long range with a +1 to hit in short range, but it strikes at strength 8 with -2 AP, causes 3 damage. Still has a 5-up ammo roll, but you have a 3-inch blast template when you open this. So if you want to get a group of targets in a small cluster, use your maximal setting to do this. Now granted, you do have to worry about the scares as well as the unstable trait in case you fail your ammo rolls, and it does have the unwieldy weapon trait attached to it, but like I said before, we're going to fix that real quick with your skill choice for this character. Now he's packing a humble last pistol for a close combat weapon as a backup shooting attack as well. Now last pistols are quite nice because when you purchase this from the Vansar list, it only costs 5 credits, so that's quite nice. It's got a 6-inch short range, 12-inch long range, +1 hit at the short range with strength 3. 1 damage. It also causes 2+ on the ammo roll, but that's not that important because it's got the plentiful trait, which means you can automatically reload it when the weapon runs out of ammo. And at the same time, it also has the sidearm trait, which means you can use it in close combat. Now we're giving this guy the mutation Scaly Skin, which means that his armor automatically increases to a 4-up armor save. Now the downside to Scaly Skin is that we cannot improve this character's armor rating any more than that. I mean, they're just kind of stuck with the Scaly Skin that they have. But at the same time, though, it's very worth it. We're going to represent that the Scaly Skin represents the armor plating that these servitors actually have. And we're giving this character Bulging Biceps, which is a skill from the Brawn trait, which is one of your primary skills, which removes the unwieldy trait for your weapons. So you can fire a plasma gun like you would any normal basic action because of that, which is going to be really helpful for you. Now at the same time, this list will include your 3 specialist servitors. So we're going to have your Breacher Servitor, your Techno-Medic Servitor, as well as your Auto Proxy Servitor. We're going to use these 3 fighters in your gang, and they're going to be fulfilling very specific roles in your gang as well. So let's go and talk about your 2 first characters. You have a character called the Techno Hex Arc, which is going to be your Breacher Servitor, and this character is going to be the Outcast Hive Scum with a 5-inch wound allowance, 4+ weapon skill and ballistic skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, as well as 8 leadership, 8 cool, 8 willpower, as well as 8 intelligence. Now this fighter is going to cost 105 credits, and the reason why is because of the equipment that we're giving this guy in order to fight with. First of all, we're going to upgrade his armor to mesh armor. It's going to give you a nice 5-up armor save. It's going to make it a little bit more survivable. In case you take any hits, you got about a 2/3 chance of surviving whatever an enemy kind of throws at you. So it's kind of a good, decent weapon armor to use for protection. At the same time, we're also giving this character a plasma pistol. And the reason why is because he's got this interesting looking mechanical arm, and we're going to use it as a plasma pistol, which is quite good. And it's got, for your low setting for the plasma pistol, you have a 6-inch short range and a 12-inch long range, but you get +2 to hit at the short range, which means your character will be shooting at a 2-up for ballistic skill. It also strikes at strength 5 with -1 AP, 2 damage. Also the 5-up armor ammo save on it. It's got the scarce as well as a sidearm trait. So you do have to worry about running out of ammo if you fail your ammo roll. So I suggest you keep this guy near somebody who's got the munitioneer skill. But the nice thing about this weapon is you could use it in close combat, so that way you can get that strength 5 off, which makes it super deadly. The maximal charge has a 6-inch short range and a 12-inch long range. You get +1 to hit at short range, so you'll be shooting at a 3+ when you're using this weapon if you're in the short range category. But it strikes at strength 7 with -2 AP but 3 damage. Also has a 5-up ammo save. It's got the scarce as well as a sidearm special rule as well as the unstable. Now a nice little trick you can use in order to get around the scarcity and unstable rules is to use the maximal setting in close combat. So that way you're striking at strength 7 and causing all kinds of problems for your enemy. Now, to mimic the fact that this guy is actually a servitor, which is actually a little bit more resilient than normal humans, we are going to purchase a mutation for him called Vast Bulk, which costs 10 credits in order to do that. So that way his wound characteristic gets bumped up to 2 wounds instead of 1. And the reason why we're doing that is to mimic the fact that this is supposed to be like a robot. Unfortunately, we don't have very many good cybernetic rules available for gangs out there right now, so we're using these mutations to kind of mimic those qualities that these guys would normally have. Now your Techno-Medic Servitor is going to be a character called the Arch Reductor, Nile, which is going to be a character who's also going to be an Outcast Hive Scum. This one's costing 75 credits with the exact same characteristics that we mentioned for the Breacher Servitor. It's got mesh armor for that 5-up armor save, as well as that last pistol that we talked about earlier. And we're giving him a Servo Medicate, which is actually a nice upgrade from the Vansar Tech Hunters that you can use to do a basic action, which allows you to either remove a wound or to remove a flesh wound from one of your characters who managed to get injured. So this guy's going to be nice to kind of keep your fighters in the fight longer. At the same time, we're also giving the Vast Bulk mutation as well, so that we increase his wounds characteristics to 2 instead of 1, just to make it a little bit more survivable. Now for your auto proxy servitor, we're going to call this character the Iron Witch Theta is what this character is going to be. Once again, Outcast Hive Scum, but this time rated at 135 credits as well. Now this character is also going to be equipped with mesh armor as well as a last pistol, which we talked about earlier in this video. But we're also going to give this character a shock stave to use in close combat, because this is going to help them to be a little bit more survivable in case they get assaulted against, because of the way that we've actually upgraded this character. We'll talk about why that's the case here in a second. Now that shock stave is great because it gives you a base-to-base contact weapon or a 2-inch versatile attack as well, so that way you can strike out enemies that are closing towards you. It's giving him strength +1, so this guy will be striking at strength 4, causing 1 damage. He's also got the melee trait as well as shock, which means if you roll a 6, you automatically wound, which is quite nice. And he's also got the versatile trait attached to it, so you can strike out to enemies up to 2 inches away. And the reason why we equip this character with this weapon is because it looks like they're carrying something like this already with their box set, so it just kind of fits into it. We're also going to upgrade this character with 2 interesting pieces of technology called the Augur Specs as well as the Box Array. These are actually included with the Tech Hunter rules that are available from the Book of Desolation. And what these do is, of course, it prevents your enemies from ambushing and infiltrating you within 12 inches, which is going to be great because unfortunately if you go out to places where enemies have infiltrators, these keeps your infiltrators from engaging you within 12 inches, or if you decide to go to the Underhive campaign, it keeps those roaming horrors from closing in on your fighters and ambushing you. At the same time, we also have other equipment that also makes this character do group activation, so you can actually group activate another fighter as well. Now to make this character a little bit more survivable and mimic the fact that it's a servitor, we're giving them vast bulk mutation for 10 credits, so that way their wounds or characteristics are bumped up to 2 wounds instead of 1, just to make it a little bit more survivable on the tabletop. And lastly, we're going to use 2 of your combat servitors in your box set to round out this gang because it's only at 1,000 credit. The other one will be left off to spare that you can actually include later on. So we're going to actually talk about 2 of these combat servitors next. Your 2 combat servitors are going to be named Kaz 575 as well as Dox 745. Now once again, your combat servitor number 1 and 2 will both be equipped exactly the same way. Both will be Outcast Hive Scum at 45 credits apiece. Both will be equipped with last pistols right off the bat, so that way they can shoot at short range, and both have vast bulk to give them +1 to their wound characteristics. Unfortunately, these guys are kind of bare bone, and the reason why that's the case is because you spent your credits elsewhere to give you much more powerful shooting attacks, as well as that awesome Arachnid rig to kind of help you win in your games in Necromunda. My suggestion to you as the campaign develops is to get these guys some mesh armor, get them some better close combat weapons and better equipment to make them even deadlier. And of course, recruit the 3rd servitor later on and equip them so that way they can deal with your enemies and your gang can grow over the course of the campaign. And that's going to make your 1,000 credit roster for this video. So the next roster we're going to show you guys is the 2,000 credit roster for the Mecha Profane, which of course is your House Avansar Outcast gang. And the reason why we have this 2,000 credit roster is in case you want to play in the Aranthian Secession of Necromunda. In the Aranthian Secession, you actually create a starting roster of 2,000 credits for that. And instead of actually doubling the number of fighters you would actually have for your gang, we're just going to keep the exact same number of fighters that you have in your starting box set, but we're going to really go in depth with their weapons and equipment to make them even more survivable on the tabletop. So that being said, let's talk about exactly who's going to be included in your credit roster. So once again, in this credit roster, this 2,000 credit roster, your Techno-Archaeologist as well as your Servitor Underseer are both going to be appearing in this gang as well, and they'll be fulfilling the exact same roles as before. Your Techno-Archaeologist will be used as a Heretic leader, who's going to be the Outcast gang leader for your gang, and the Servitor Underseer will be used as an Arachnid brute for your gang as well. But we're going to talk about how we're going to tweak their loadouts a little bit, because now we have more credits to play with, and we can actually equip these guys and make them even more lethal on the tabletop. Alright, so once again, your Techno-Archaeologist will be a character named Zarek the Unbound. Once again, still your Outcast gang leader. Going to use the Heretic characteristics for this character. But this time we were upgrading him to 230 credits this time around, because we're giving him additional equipment to make him a little bit more survivable and more lethal on the tabletop. He's still going to be a mutant archetype, but this time though we're upgrading his armor save with an armored body glove, giving a 4-up armor save when combined with the mesh armor that he's currently having. He's still going to be equipped with a plasma gun, but we're also going to spend some credits to purchase him what's called a Spider Rig, which is a unique close combat weapon that's available for Vansar gangs. Now for your Spider Rig, what this actually gives you is a base-to-base combat or a 3-inch versatile attack against your opponents. Now whether you're in base-to-base contact with your opponents or striking at the 3-inch versatile trait, you get +1 to hit regardless, which means that the Heretic's normally horrible 5-up weapon skill drops down to a 4+ weapon skill, which makes you quite average. But the nice thing about this though is it gives you +1 to your strength, so your heretic will be striking at strength 4 instead of strength 3. And we're going to use that to pretend that the little mechanical arms that are above the shoulders of your miniature could represent your spider rig in order to represent this effect. Now, your attacks also give you -1 AP to get your enemy cause 1 damage, but you have a sleuth of weapons traits that makes this guy even more deadly. Entangle is one of your weapons traits, which means your opponents cannot parry your attacks. It's also paired, which means that when you charge in close combat, it doubles your attack characteristic. So instead of actually using the normal 1 characteristic, you actually fight twice. You get 2 attacks plus another one on the charge, giving you 3 attacks total. You also have the parry special weapons trait attached to this, which means if your enemies attack you and make a successful hit against you, you can make them re-roll it, which is quite nice. You also got shock on this weapon as well, so if you roll any 6s, you automatically wound. And of course, we also have the versatile trait, which means you can strike within the 3 inches with that close combat attack. A very deadly weapons combination on top of that. Now, we're also giving this character a high straw pattern energy shield as well to protect themselves. Now, this weapon's going to be good for not only close combat, but also to protect themselves as well. You use them base contact with your opponents, and you strike at your normal strength 3, causes 1 damage, but the real reason why we have this weapon is for knockback. If you manage to roll higher than your enemy's toughness, you can actually push him back 1 inch. It's an additional melee attack, but it has the shield trait attached to it, which means that if you're being shot at from the front direction with this shield, you get +1 your armor save, making you have an armor save 3. And if you get engaged in close combat, it gives you 2+ armor save, dropping your armor save to 2+ with that. And that's the reason why we're using it, to make your character a little bit more survivable. Now, we're giving this character photo goggles, so that way you can see up to 9 inches regardless of the visibility conditions, so that way you can open fire at your plasma gun even if visibility is an issue. Once again, still has the munition your skill, as well as the overseer skill. Also has the vast bulk mutation, bringing up their wounds to 2 wounds instead of 1. They still have the heretic special rule as before, as well as the outlaw rule from before as well. And once again, your Servitor Understreet will be a character of the Voidborn Cog Spawn. We talked about this character before earlier in your 1000 credit roster. He's going to be an Arachnorig servo suit for costing you 360 credits. He's equipped exactly the same way as in the 1000 credit rosters, and he will actually be fulfilling the exact same role for your gang that we mentioned before. But we might as well have brought this character up again, just so that you're reminded that you do have an Arachnorig servo suit that's fully upgraded to cause all kinds of harm, either with shooting or close combat. Now, in the 2000 credit roster, we'll be using both of your gun servitors in your list, and these once again will be your outcast champions. So we're going to talk about exactly what these guys are equipped with, and we've actually tweaked their loadouts a little bit just to make them even deadlier on the tabletop. So first of all, we have Gravemind 1011, which is actually going to be one of your new gun servitors, going to be used as one of your champions as well. And we talked about the characteristics of an outcast champion already in our very first 1000 credit roster, so he has exactly the same characteristics as before as well. Now he's going to cost 255 credits, and once again taking the mutant archetype as well, and we're equipping this character with a heavy stubber. Now the reason why we're equipping this heavy stubber is because unfortunately outcast gang champions can only take rarity 8 if you're going to use them for the normal trading post, and unfortunately there isn't like any heavy machine gun type weapon available in the House Van Sar lists, so because we got to go to the trading post for this. Now normally I'd like to give this character a heavy bolter, but unfortunately that's rarity 10, so we got to drop it down to rarity 8 for your heavy stubber instead. Well, that being said though, your heavy stubber is no slouch. It's got a 20-inch short range as well as a 40-inch long range. Now unfortunately, if you're shooting past 20 inches, you do might lose -1 to your Ballista skill, so you'll be striking at Ballista skill 5, so try to keep within the 20-inch range whenever you use this weapon. Now the nice thing about the heavy stubber though is it's got strength 4 with -1 AP as well as 1 damage. It's also got a 4-up ammo roll, but the nice thing about it is it's got rapid fire too, so you can potentially put out 6 shots with this bad boy. Now it does have the unwieldy trait, which means that normally it would be a double action to shoot this, but we're going to mitigate that by taking the bulging bicep skills, which removes the unwieldy trait from your weapon, so you can still fire it like a basic action. Now when it comes to this close combat attack, we're also upgrading it with a servo claw as well. And the reason why we're using a servo claw is because if you look at the offhand that the Servitor miniature has, they have like these mechanical claw things, and it just naturally looks like what a servo claw would actually do. So that's the reason why we're including it. Plus, you can get it from the House Van Sar list for a good amount of credits as well. It gives you strength 2 on the attack and close combat, which means you'd be striking at strength 5, which is quite deadly. It also causes 2 damage as well, which would be quite nice. Now we're also equipping this character with photo goggles, so that way they can see in all visibility conditions, because you do have that long range shooting attack with the heavy stubber, so that's going to be quite nice. We're also giving this guy the scaly skin mutation, so that we have that 4-up armor save to mimic what a normal armor plating would be like on a servitor. At the same time, we had talked about that bulging bicep skill to remove the unwieldy trait from your heavy stubber, so that way you can fire it as a basic action. Your second champion is going to be Skeletrix 9. That's going to be gun servitor number 2, and this is the same exact champion from your 1000 credit roster, but we've tweaked his loadout a little bit to make him deadlier. This time upgrading him to 255 credits. He's still a mutant archetype with a plasma cannon. He still has scaly skin for that 4-up armor save and bulging bicep skill to mitigate the unwielding trait on the plasma cannon, but we are upgrading with a servo claw so that way you strengthen that strength 5 in close combat with 2 damage, just because that's what it looks like that these servitors are carrying as servo claws. And we're also giving photo goggles so that way you can see in the visibility conditions up to 9 inches away, so that way you can still fire his plasma gun even with their visibility rules attached to him. And once again, your Breacher Servitor, your Technomedic Servitor, as well as your Auto Proxy Servitor also make a return in this list as well, but this time we're tweaking their loadouts to make them even more deadly by giving them some more survivability and some more offensive capabilities on the tabletop. So up first, your Techno Hexarch. That's going to be your Breacher Servitor. He makes a return again, this time costing 255 credits because we're upgrading him. Now this time we're changing out his loadout a little bit by giving him an armored undersuit as well as a hazard suit. Now you might be thinking, Commander Cheapskate, why are we changing his armor from a mesh armor to a hazard suit? The reason why is because the hazard suit does give you a 6-up armor save, and when combined with the armored undersuit, brings it back up to 5-up armor. But the nice thing about the hazard suit though is it gives you additional bonuses. It makes you immune to Radphage. It also gives you immunity to Blaze, which are some common threats that you'll face in the Underhive. At the same time, also adds +2 to any toughness test you may take in order to counter against any gas attacks that might be coming your way. A lot of dangerous threats exist in the Underhive, and that Under hazard suits could protect you from a lot of them. We're also upgrading his weapon from the normal plasma pistol we gave him earlier, and we're giving him a melta gun instead. We're making this guy a gang specialist for your gang. Now the melta gun's got a 6-inch short range and a 12-inch long range, so it's a very short range weapon, and you get +1 to hit so long as you're in the short range, making you shooting at ballistic skill 3. But the real reason why you want a melta gun is because it's got an 8 strength, 8 characteristics, so you'll be mooning almost everything with -4 AP, so almost everything will not have any armor saves against you. It also causes 3 damage with the 4-up ammo roll as well. It also has the melta trait too, which means that if you're within short range, you cause even more damage and go automatically out of action. At the same time, it also has a scarce trace as well, so do be careful about it. Now the melta gun fits for our gaming purposes because it is a powerful shooting attack, but you could also say narratively that you'd use it to actually breach through fortifications to move through, because that's exactly what a melta gun does. It melts through walls, it melts through tanks, it melts through people, so it does exactly that as well. We're also upgrading with a servo claw for close combat attacks, meaning he's striking that strength 5 with 2 damage, and we're giving this character a photolumen instead of photo goggles, and the reason why is because of the short range nature of your weapon. The photolumen allows you to eliminate everybody within 12 inches, so that way you can still engage and open fire with your melta gun. Unfortunately, it does make you more visible in situations where visibility conditions are a rule, but that's why you have your armored undersuit and your hazard suit to make you a little bit more survivable. And same thing with that vast bulk mutation, giving them 2 wounds. After that, you have the Arc Reductor Nile, which is your Technomedic Servitor. He makes a return again, but this time upgraded to 135 credits. We're actually giving him armored undersuit as well as a hazard suit for the exact same reasons we gave it to the Techno Hexarch, but we're changing up his last pistol to a last sub-carbine. And the reason why we're doing that is because it's basically like an upgraded, a shooting attack for a last pistol, except it's just like a last pistol with rapid fire, however, which makes it even better. It's got a 4-inch short range, a 12-inch long range. You get +1 hit in short range within 4 inches. Still shoots at strength 3 and causes 1 damage. Now the ammo trait does go up to 4 up, but it's not a big problem because you do have the plentiful trait, so you automatically reload, but you get that rapid fire ability. And you can be able to shoot 3 times with it. Plus you have also sidearm attached to it, so you can use it in close combat if you want to. He's also got a servo claw again to give him a strength 5 and 2 damage close combat attack, and he still maintains the servo Medicae as well as the vast bulk mutation, so he's got 2 wounds, and he can also do a Medicae kit and Medicae action for any wounded fighters are within his area. And this time we are having the Iron Witch Theta. She makes a return again, Auto Proxy Servitor. Once again, Outcast Hive Scum at 165 credits this time. Upgrading their armor with armored undersuit as well as a hazard suit, just like we mentioned before. And we're also upgrading their shooting attack with a last sub-carbine to make them have rapid fire attacks. Still packing a shock stave, still has the auger specs as well as the Vox array, and still has the vast bulk mutation to make it a little bit more survivable on tabletop. In fact, the only real difference between this one and the 1000 credit roster is that we gave him the armor undersuit, changed the mesh armor to a hazard suit instead, and gave him a last sub-carbine for their shooting attack. And the last members of your game we're going to talk about today are your combat servitors, and once again, you'll be using all 3 combat servitors from your box set to fill out your gang, and we're talking about exactly how these guys are going to be equipped here in a second. So instead of having 2 combat servitors, you have 3 combat servitors. Kaz 575 and Doc 745 make a return, but we're adding Zor Mark 24, which is going to be your 3rd combat servitor, and all 3 will be equipped exactly the same. All 3 will be Outcast Hive Scums, costing 115 credits apiece. All 3 will have armored undersuits as well as hazard suits, so they have that 5-up armor save, as well as immunity to Blaze, rad phage, and +2 toughness against gas attacks. They're also packing sub-carbines this time, so that we have that strength 3 shooting attack with rapid fire that they can also use in close combat and also put out more firepower. And we're upgrading them with servo claws, so that way they're striking at strength 5, causing 2 damage apiece as well. And once again, they also have the vast bulk mutation, making the all wound 2. So these guys are quite survivable, quite deadly in short range combat as well. And I recommend upgrading these guys with some additional things as you go on with the campaign. Maybe give them photo goggles, or give them like rad phage grenades, or whatever the case may be that you want for these guys to match your playstyle. Now, in case if you want to play this gang in the Ash Waste or in the Underhive campaign or in the Eranthe Secession that requires you to have 400 credits worth of vehicles for your gang, instead of worrying about purchasing vehicles for your gang, we're going to do something really simple for your gang instead. We're going to take your 400 credits for vehicles. We're going to purchase 8 Wasters dirt bikes. Those Wasters dirt bikes cost 50 credits a piece. What they do is they give your fighter the mounted condition and give him an 8-inch wound allowance. What we'll say instead is that instead of actually having a Waster's dirt bike like a motorcycle, we're just going to represent the fact that these guys' cybernetic legs are just make them move faster across the battlefield so that they can run as fast as a vehicle instead. Now, it may seem kind of cheesy to say that, but you know, we're talking about saving money here, at the same time using one box of miniatures to play multiple games. And technically speaking, upgraded cybernetic legs on robots would actually, you could argue that, yeah, it would make you faster. So that's the nice thing about it. Plus, if you want to fight in the Underhives, or you want to fight in places where they don't allow vehicles, you could just leave your bikes in your stash and then have your fighters fight like normally. You could choose which 8 fighters receive dirt bikes. It's up to you what you want to do it. The nice thing about that is that all these characters have the same amount of weapons. Basically have 2 weapons apiece, so they wouldn't have any interference really to making sure they lose their 3rd weapon if they manage to run with these dirt bikes. So kind of works out in your favor. So in conclusion, using a kill team in Necromunda is a natural transition. After all, kill team and Necromunda take place in exactly the same setting, which is the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Both are grimdark, and you know, to be quite fair and to be quite honest, they kind of interact with each other on a narrative basis as well. At the same time, what we're trying to do this video is trying to save you a bunch of money and try to maximize the amount of fun you could have by using the same set of miniatures for multiple gaming systems. I mean, after all, we are living by the age-old philosophy that every single miniature is a Necromunda miniature. And to be perfectly honest, Games Workshop's kill team miniatures have been perfect Necromunda gangs. I mean, they're all amazing and they're beautiful sculpts, so why wouldn't you want to use them for Necromunda as well? And that's my whole rationale for making these. Now, if you have any suggestions for some other gangs that you'd like to see made from other different Games Workshop products, or any other products for that matter, please leave it in the comments down below. And if I like your idea, if it inspires me, I'll make a video about it and I'll give you credit at the exact same time. So I'm Commander Cheapskate. That's good to listen to you guys. Please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Until then, peace out and stay classy.